since I can remember, when I was a young kid, a little boy, I had a pretty innocent outlook on life. And there were a couple things in my life that were defining moments and things that really had an impact and kind of changed my perspective on, man, life isn't always the greatest. As a young boy, I loved life. My mother and my father divorced when I was a very young baby. I would say maybe 1 or 2. So I don't really remember them getting divorced. But I remember them not being together, and I would have to spend time with them separately, apart from each other. Growing up, I dealt with that, and then my mom got remarried, and my father got remarried. So I had a stepfather, a stepmother. I had brothers. I have a sister, and I remember, just enjoying life, having the family that I had. My parents raised me to go to church. They raised me to believe in Jesus. They raised me to do all the right things. That for me was more like I was living faith through my family. I was living my faith through my parents and through our family at that time. And then I remember I was getting ready to go into high school, and I called my stepmother because I was visiting my father, during the summers, and he was living in North Carolina at the time. I called my stepmother, and she answered the phone crying, and she told me, "Aaron, your father was in a car accident, and he died. He's no longer with us." And I remember at that point, just like the bottom of the earth just opened up, and I fell through, and I was just hurting. I ran out the house screaming, crying, ran down the road. My stepfather had to run after me. And that was a tough time of my life going into high school, because when you're in high school and when you're in middle school, you're already struggling with identity. You're already struggling with self-confidence and wanting to fit in and wanting to have friends and wanting to find your place, whether it be in sports or in music or art or whatever. Just that time was a crucial time in my life. This is when I went into high school. I was dealing with all those fears, all those anxieties, all that depression from my dad dying. Now that I know that's what it was, but at the time I was just confused, and at the time I just wanted love. So I started looking to people for love. I started looking to friends. I started looking to the wrong people. I started getting involved with drugs and alcohol. I started all throughout my high school years. I started going to parties and looking for relationships with whoever, whether it be a friend, a girl, or whatever, just to fill that void, to fill that pain. Out of high school, like I said, I didn't have a direction. I thought I wanted to go to college, but I didn't know what I wanted to do. So I was selling drugs, and we were going to get more drugs, and a friend of mine wanted to drive the car, and we were actually drinking that night. It was on July 4th, 2007, and we were going to pick up more drugs so we could sell drugs, make money. This was just a very dark time of my life, and I remember getting in this Jeep, getting ready to drive to McKeesport over near Pittsburgh, and my friend's like, "No, let me drive." And the girl that was gonna drive was actually sober. He's like, "No, let me drive," and he was drunk. And we were driving down this road. I remember the speed limit was 45, and I remember seeing the speed hit 120 miles per hour as we go around the bend, and he loses control of the Jeep. I'm sitting in the back of the Jeep. I have another friend beside me. When he loses control, we hit a cement barrier that, from where we hit it, we knocked it 200 feet away from the spot than where we hit it. And we rolled the Jeep multiple times. We went through 3 telephone poles. And I remember that, God spared my life. I wasn't wearing a seatbelt and I was not ejected from the vehicle, but I remember getting out of that vehicle just mad, but also I was drunk, so I was kind of not in my right mind. I I went and I was looking, I was yelling for my friend. I was yelling, yo, Scram, where you at, Scram? And I look and I see him on the ground and he's lying there and he's no longer with us and he was gone. And that was the first time I've ever seen something like that happen. Someone that died right in front of me. And since then, since I made that turning point, it was about 2008 that I finally said, I'm gonna serve you, God. I got rebaptized, I recommitted my life to the Lord. And I still struggle. I still struggle with the abuse of alcohol. So I wrote Had Enough, and I thought, I've had enough of the hatred. I've had enough of the faking. But even though I've had enough and it stresses me out, and I still have, sometimes that anxiety wants to come up inside of me, that depression or that fear of fear of failure comes up inside of my heart. But the thing is we don't have to deal with that alone. There's an answer, and I want people to know that answer through my music. And so I remember finally reaching out to Cannon, and I showed him the song, and he's like, "Yeah, I want to do this song with you." And Cannon was just, we got to talk back and forth, and he was just telling me some of the stuff that he struggled with as a young believer, but then now stuff that he's struggling with in the industry, just religion in general. People thinking that you should look and act and talk a certain way, but really it's not about that. It's not about the religious systems that we put up or being perfect. It's about knowing Jesus, loving people, loving God, and really just walking into your purpose. We just need to be a people to impact the world around us through love. I hope you like this single. I hope you like the song. I hope you share it. Let's change the world through music, through whatever it is that you do. I hope this helps you.
Yeah, I've had enough of the hatred, I've had enough of the faking, I've had enough of the villainous killing, I've had enough of you, Satan.